Introduced into the so-called conscious community as a formidable force to present ideas that would, I guess in a sense, build strength and I guess a strategy to deal with a personality like Polight. I really didn't want to do it because it's not my cup of tea. But after I watched a couple of his videos and I saw some information that I personally felt was damaging to black people on the whole, I felt that I would love to take on the opportunity to engage him. And before I go into my book, I must introduce this part of my history because this is how most people in this room may be familiar with it. So what do I mean by I find his information damaging to black people on the whole? You see, whenever our leaders in the past disagreed with one another, we did it with class. There was no disrespect. You see, I can have a difference of opinion with you, and I don't need to disrespect you. Intelligence gives me that. Consciousness gives me that. You see, there's a frequency of thought that when you are of a particular thought base, once you rise to, I guess from the Torah, we would say wisdom. Once you rise to a state of wisdom, you understand that you can actually disagree with people without being offensive.
That's right.
That's true. Can we do that?
Right on.
So you had brilliant teachers like Dr. Ben, John Henry Clark, and I want to include someone who is even preceding them, Marcus Garvey. All of these individuals did not share the exact same ideologies. In some instances, there was a sharp contrast and difference. Yet when they chose to speak of their difference, they did it with wisdom. They did it with humility. And they still did it with brotherhood. Because you could have a difference of opinion with me, and it could still be brotherhood at the end of the day. That is still possible. Right on. When we go outside, guess what we are? We're behind enemy lines in this country.
That's right.
We're enjoying great jobs, some of us, so we may feel comfortable. But at the end of the day, we are still behind enemy lines. With that being said, if the world is against us, what does it say when we are against one another? Does that make sense? The entire world is against us, and we are against one another. So when I watched his videos, one thing I noticed him do that I did not see come from our prior leaders is this. He seemed to attack every Afrocentric-based doctrine that doesn't agree with his. Now, while you may hold any view you desire to convey to the public, while you may hold any view that is adverse, you can still voice your differences of opinion with peace and unity. So what does Polight do? He attacks just about every single major black movement ideology or doctrine. And that's not even my point of argument. He does so without offering a solution. Do you understand the wisdom in what I just said? Or do you understand the detriment in what he's doing? You see, to attack something without providing a solution is creating more of the same disease, the same affliction. So the very same points that you may attack, if you don't have a solution, then all you did was break up something that could have caused someone to spearhead a movement from a movement that wasn't necessarily guided in a wise way. You see, we could be a part of movements that don't start big, that start small, but yet be inspired by it and move on to something greater. So to attack something because you don't consider it to have a wise base and offer no solution, in my opinion, is very dangerous.
That's right. Bring it out.
And I upset the brother when I said that. The brother actually called my personal phone. Man, I told you I love the way you speak Hebrew. You on videos talking about I'm an agent. Don't you know that would cause harm to my family? And you know what I said to that brother? I said, my apologies. I'm a father. I'm 35 years old. I've been studying Torah since age 15, so you figure I have about 20 years of knowing myself as an Israelite and familiarizing myself with this book. With that being said, in the community where I come from, my name is Avdiel Ben Levi, which is my author name. Zion Lexx is my Facebook name. When Sarnetta introduced me into his conscious community, he did so by using my Facebook. My real name, my government name is Alex. Most of my friends call me Lexx for short. My middle name is Zion, hence Zion Lexx. For those that know me from a Hebraic perspective, know me as Moreh, which is teacher, Avdiel Ben Levi, and teacher because I'm a Hebrew teacher where I come from. And again, the only issue, I'll be lying if I say that. One of the issues I have with Brother Polight is the idea that I find him attacking Muslims, Hebrews, 5%ers, you name it. If a black man is holding up the banner and it doesn't agree with what he says, he attacks it. But in his attack, he has no solution. And I have a problem with that. Because to me, that's agent behavior. Because we saw with the rise of COINTELPRO that we had people planted in all of these major movements that did the exact same thing. They attacked it from the inside out and caused division and eventually caused the entire movement to erode, corrupt, and ultimately be destroyed. So that is my point of argument when it comes to Polight. Outside of that, I actually think he's a brilliant brother. A lot of my Hebrews won't agree with me, but I have to give credit where credit is due. I actually think he's a brilliant brother. But you could be brilliant for something that's wrong too. You see, you could be skilled with language and a way to bring truth to people that encapsulates the mind, the emotion, the spirit. But if your intention is in the wrong place, you're just a snake. That's another comment he don't like me making when I call it APAC, the Kemetic word for snake. Well, because of my nature, I say what I want to say. Because the Creator allows me to do that. I can't afford to live my life going by what another man would choose to see me do or say. I'm my own man. I'm actually older than your brother too. So I'm going to be me, or as they say in the street, I'm going to do me.
That's right.
And in this instance, I want to just point something out about Polight. He's brilliant. Most of us who study his tapes will give him credit. He's a brilliant young mind. If you're familiar with the snake in the Garden of Eden story, you know Adam was one of the wisest individuals that ever lived. If you're familiar with the Torah or the Bible. Why do I make a statement like that? Well, the Creator did something in the Torah that tested his wisdom. He brought every single animal before Adam and he said, name them. You know, the Hebrew word for name is Shem, which in Hebrew literally means essence. It's also the Hebraic base for the word soul, neshama. You see, the soul is the essence of the human being. And the word for soul encapsulates or incorporates the Hebrew word for name, Shem. It's actually the base of neshama. And when we speak of Shem, or name in Hebrew, we're speaking of that which identifies with the essence of the thing we're describing. So how did the Creator utilize Adam in exemplifying his wisdom? He brought every animal before him and he said, give them a name. So he came to the lion. Have anybody ever been to a zoo and seen a lion?
Yeah.
You seen a lion before? Bronze Zoo? Come on. I've been there, right?
Yeah.
But it was from behind a cage, correct?
Right.
You ever seen a lion up close and personal? If you have ever, just walk with me for a second. If you have, and this is just, being hypothetical, give me one emotion you think you might experience.
Fear.
Fear? So the Hebrew word for lion is ari, which comes from the Hebrew word girah, which means fear. So when Adam encountered the lion, he looked at it, he studied its essence. He didn't just, look at it for 2 minutes and say, ari. He actually studied it. How do we know that? Because the Hebrew word that is used to describe all the animals coming before him shows a long duration of time. That's when you understand Hebrew grammar and syntax. So he actually studied every single animal that was brought before him. And in studying the lion, the main thing that he saw was that the lion had a twofold nature when it comes to fear. He inspires fear and he conquers fear. You see, the lion is not the strongest creature in the animal kingdom.
That's right.
But you know what makes him the strongest creature in the animal kingdom? That sounds crazy, but I just said that. He's not the strongest creature in the animal kingdom. But you know what makes him the strongest creature?
Right.
He conquered his fear.
That's right.
When you conquer fear, that's it.
Right.
That's it. You see, fear limits your power, your innate power, your spirituality. If I may coin the phrase, fear undresses your spirituality and reveals your physicality.
That's right.
Fear takes you away from the metaphysical and brings you back to the finite physical world. So what we have to do is learn to conquer our fear. There is one fear which is pure and holy, and that's the fear of the Creator of the earth. And that is a natural fear. That is a fear from a son to a father. Just like a son or daughter would fear their mother and father in honor of who they are as life givers, so it is that we give reverence to the Creator in the form of fear, because we understand that that is our Father. So with my background in Hebrew, I said to myself, there are so many facets of Hebraic understanding that I find and I encounter daily in the street that seems to be very off. One of the things that I found was very off about our understanding of Hebrew is that I constantly ran into Israelites who either didn't know Hebrew, didn't care to learn it, or were just wrong in terms of what they were learning. They didn't have proper training. So, to give you a little bit more background, let me do this too. Could you go to blackjews.org real quick on the thing? To give you a little bit more background on me, yes. To give you a little bit more background on me, I'll tell you this. I actually first learned Hebrew at a congregation not too far from here. It's about a 20-minute ride. Congregation Shema Israel. This goes back to 1994. I wouldn't mind telling my
He
age.
said it's blackjews.org.
Blackjews.org. And they gave me my first spark to actually learn the Hebrew language. And the divine spark, and I do believe it's divine, the divine spark that I received in that place gave me the ability to now go out and search for it in academia. So I actually went to college for Hebrew. I went to Touro College. I even attended Yeshiva University, which is uptown. Yeshiva University at one time wanted to publish my book. I sent them a manuscript in 2002. They set up the meeting. They met me, and the meeting was done. Why? The color goes a long way in the eyes of people with short vision. And I'm including black people in that statement too. Color goes a long way in the eyes of people with short vision. You see, when the ancient Cometians call themselves Kemetic, a lot of us say, yes, they were talking about, their black skin. No. They lived in a land of rich black soil. You see, at the height or apex of the Kemetic community, there was no European kingdom that was as strong intellectually, spiritually, and physically. So there was no color issue. You see, color only becomes an issue when we have racism in the world.
Yes.
When you go back into antiquity, when the Kemetic kingdom reigned, racism in terms of white-black did not exist to the point that it exists today. We did have white people, but most of them did not come out of Europe yet, as we know for a fact, history. The Greeks did not leave, and the Romans did not leave the Aegean and all of the isles of what the Torah calls the Gentiles until after the downfall of the most major black kingdoms of the world. So again, when the ancient Kemetic speak of themselves as being from Kemet, the word Kemet does mean black in the Middle Letter, but that black alludes to the alluvial deposit, that rich black soil. You have to understand that, yes, we are a melanated people, and yes, melanin combines so many physical and metaphysical truths, which does contribute to the greatness of melanated people. That's a fact. I can't deny that. Yet, there's something even greater than that. It's called the spirit. And when you deal in the spirit, you can move in a room of people of different colors and deal with each one of them equally. So all this talk in the conscious community, brother, you hate the white man? Don't ask me questions like that.
Right.
I don't even entertain questions that are not based in wisdom.
Go ahead.
I don't entertain questions that are not based in academia. Don't ask me a question is the right thing to tell me. Because I just simply won't entertain that conversation. Because if you haven't risen to that state yet, probably me and you should not be conversating.
Go ahead.
A bold statement to make, maybe even arrogant, but take it as it is. And we shouldn't do that either. Who follows Sarnetta on Facebook?
Facebook.
What's his name on Facebook?
Frank Gary.
Shout out to you, Sarnetta, because I know you'll be watching this. And don't call my phone saying that I came at you again. You know I love you. Sometimes. So Sarnetta put on his page, Frank Gary, the real Hebrew Israelites pay tribute to Dr. Ben.
You want to click something?
Yeah, pull up that clip with the real Hebrew Israelites in the tribute to Dr. Ben.
Oh, on
This is
yeah.
it's right on here. It's gonna slide, and when it slides, you can click on it. It's the Dr. Ben tribute. So this website, if you're unfamiliar with it, is blackjews.org, and the leaders of this website, or the leader of this website, is a brother and dear friend of mine, Rabbi Shlomo Ben Levi. He is the individual that took over the Rabbi Matthew tradition. If anyone is familiar with Hebraic Genesis in America, you know that Rabbi Matthews is one of the founding fathers in terms of reintroducing Torah to Israelites here in America. There were a couple of people before him, such as Arnold Josiah Ford, Cherry, and there were a couple of others who I will refrain from naming at this point.
Is this what you wanted?
Yes, this
I'm
is
just
what I
scroll
want.
down or leave it on the picture.
Just click on the picture real quick. So, if you go to Frank Gary, which is Sarnetta, he brings you to this article on his page, and he says the real Hebrew Israelites paid tribute to Dr. Ben. But do you know what he's doing insidiously or indirectly? He's trying to take a shot at us. Because he thinks that we have no respect for Dr. Ben. Not knowing that not only do we have respect for Dr. Ben, but in the year 1977, Dr. Ben accepted an honorary position as one of our faculty members.
Wow.
And he apparently didn't even read the article. He just saw Dr. Ben and put it up there. Had he read the article, it would have destroyed what he was trying to do. But again, I want to take the time out to say this. So he said the real Hebrew Israelites, right?
I'm sorry.
Paid tribute.
You want me to scroll down or leave it on the picture?
Leave it on the picture. That's all.
Gotcha.
That's the picture.
Gotcha.
That's a picture. Because I'm giving out the website, so if anyone is interested in coming back and reading this, it's a beautiful article, by the way. If anyone is interested in reading it, you can always come back. So again, the leader of this website is, again, Rabbi Shlomo Ben Levi, who is a very amazing character and personality in the Israelite community. His father took over the Rabbi Matthews tradition, hence why Sarnetta took a shot and said the real Hebrew Israelites. Scroll up real quick again, brother, to another thing I want to show real quick.
Part of the
Oh, scroll down. Because apparently we have no interaction with the real Hebrew Israelites, right? Okay.
How much there?
All the way down, all the way down, all the way down, all the way down, all the way down. Keep going, all the way down, all the way down, all the way down. And bam.
You want to click on that?
Yeah, click on that.
Oh, that's you.
That's a familiar name. Who's that?
That's you.
That's me?
Oh, shoot.
That's an article I wrote? Wait, I'm a writer for the website.
Wow.
But the real Hebrew Israelites pay tribute to Dr. Ben because we're not a part of the real Hebrew Israelite community. But Morey Abdiel Ben Levi is one of their writers, but we don't belong to that community. You see what happens when your mouth, you see, I want to coin it so perfectly. I'm a perfectionist too. When your mouth is before your wisdom, you will never speak with understanding. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
I took time to get that out because it had to come out that way. When your mouth is before wisdom, meaning what you speak, wisdom didn't catch up to. You like that?
Yeah.
Then when you speak, you have no understanding. And as much as I love Sarnetta for providing a platform, what you tried to do made no damn sense. Because you try to disassociate us from the real Hebrew Israelite community. Not knowing that in this real Hebrew Israelite community, if you would only call Rabbi Shalom Ben Levi, he actually considers my teacher to be one of the foremost scholars in our community today. And when it comes to the young men, I'm only 35, he considers me to be among the foremost scholars of the young men. So for you to make a statement like that, you got to do a little bit more research, my brother. And I love you. Take that. And this is a beautiful article that I wrote on the Passover season. Being that my specialty is in linguistics, etymology, and Hebrew, I think you will thoroughly enjoy the article. Even if you are of different faith base, just the information and the empowerment and the enlightenment that it brings, I think is a contribution there that you would enjoy. And that's something that I want to impress upon people too. And this is the thing that I strive to do. And this goes back to Brother Polight. You see, you can have a difference of opinion with a person and still learn from them.
That's right.
That's true.
The Torah sages say this: who is wise? They ask a question. Who is wise? You want to answer that? Who is wise? All right. Who is wise? I'm going to just put you out on the spot. That's what I do. Ask Polight. Who is wise? Who is wise? Ahaya. I love that. Who is wise?
I guess he who seeks wisdom.
He who seeks wisdom. Who is wise?
Them that wean from the those that are bathed with the rest.
I love that. I love that. So here's what our Torah sages answer saying: he who learns from all men. He who considers everyone he has ever met to be his teacher. Let that sink in for a second. When you consider every person you ever met in your life, you know every person you meet you don't agree with. Some of them, listen, I'm not the biggest guy, but I don't beat some people up out there. But you know what? I learned from them. You know what I learned? I learned that brute strength does not equate intelligence. I learned that overpowering a person physically says nothing about your spiritual contribution.
True.
I learned from my younger days of running and ripping the streets and living a life that was so contrary to what I was genuinely seeking in my life. I learned that ultimately the only thing that counts in life is not how much you learn, but what you do with what you learn.
That's right. That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
That's true.
Let me give you something real quick. The brother said application, and I love that. Let me give you something real quick. And this is just definitions. Definitions bring us to a place in our mind and our soul where we can become at one with truth. Definitions are so very important with me. I'm over redundant with definitions, especially in the Hebrew language. So if I were to ask anyone randomly right now, what does knowledge mean? Not in Kemetic language, not in Hebrew, just the English word knowledge. What would you say?
To know. To know.
To know. I'm gonna put you on the spot.
To acquire
What does knowledge? Huh?
To acquire information for life transformation.
I love you, my dear sister. I love you. That's powerful. So let's go out on the street now, pretend, and we ask this question: what does knowledge mean? That means I got wisdom. What does knowledge mean? Moving on. Ah, brother, he's deep. We got understanding. What does knowledge mean? Well, when you trace the etymology of the word knowledge, it's actually a compound word, and it's Latin. The first part is to know, which means to acquire information. The second part is leche. Want to take a guess what leche means?
Milk.
To apply. You can't even speak about yourself as being knowledgeable if you're not applying it. Does that make sense?
Go ahead.
There's people that are coming out of college right now with a lot of know and no ledge. And they've fallen because there's no ledge. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Acquiring information and not having discernment or understanding to apply it is two different things. And you actually defeat the purpose if you don't use them together.
Right. Yes.
So in all of your learning, it's in vain if there's no application. So I could speak here today and pretend to be the greatest spirit in the world. But you know, if you go out and you observe me and you watch me for the next 7 days to 90 days, let's say, if my actions are not in concert with my words, then I'm a fraud.
That's right.
I'm a fraud. And I have no knowledge. And that is the difference between a true seeker of truth versus what the academia of this country teaches in their prestigious institutions around the world. And I love the fact that they use the word institution, because they're programming you.
Yes.
Pay attention to language. There's a reason why they use the term institution. I have a 7-year background as an EMT. You know, when you speak of institution, you're always speaking of a medical facility.
Yes.
Are you aware of that?
Yes.
So when you speak of an educational facility, do you understand what that entails? Let's go to my book, just think about that. So I understand that we spent a lot of time with a beautiful presentation, and I have to give credit where credit is due. Can we please give just one more round of applause to Brother And the reason why I want to do that in this instance is not to be fake or cliche, but to be real, genuine, raw, and spontaneous as well. Because I was extremely spontaneous. I don't plan, I just act. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but you know what is real. It's genuine. With that being said, when you have two great minds, I consider myself a quasi-great mind. I'm somewhere there. This brother has a great mind. When you have two great minds, and you have people that envy that, you know what they do? They look to create and cause division.
Yeah.
So what has happened and played out in the conscious community from the time that I met this brother, they said, Divine Prospect is the real scholar in the Hebrew community. Divine Prospect, that's the brother that should have debated. Why is Zion Lexx speaking? And I sit there in the background and I play with my fingers, because I know good and damn well that everybody speaking that is trying to do something that me and this brother are so much above and beyond.
Yeah.
You see, we actually live what we say. You understand what that means? You could not like Torah. You could not like Bible. You could not believe in it. But you got to respect people who are in concert with the things that their mouth speak.
Right.
There's a beautiful orchestra and symphony created when your actions coincide with your words. And we have that rhythm. We got that frequency. Shit, we dancing. You understand? Power. Which is why we speak of the Creator, El, or Elohim, and it means power or energy. And when we say Elohim in the plural, that becomes immeasurable, intangible energy.
I just want to give you a time check.
Yes.
Because we have to be out of here by midnight. We're
Okay.
overscheduled and everything, but no disrespect. I just wanted to.
Okay. No problem, my sister. You got it.
Yeah.
All right. So with that being said, I'm going to make sure that I curtail anything that I was going to do and try to get to the main points and the highlights. So when we speak of our Creator as El literally means power in the Hebrew language. And when we speak of Elohim, we are talking about a power that cannot be contained or measured. You might say, what's the difference? Because in some places, it says that the Creator is El. And in some places, it says that the Creator is Elohim. And then we talked about that word nature, right? So, in the secular world, there's a concept known as Mother Nature, which basically is all of the inherent forces in creation void of a Godhead, attaining a female principle governing the universe, or the universal structure. The Western thought gives it the term Mother Nature. So here's the question of the day. Is that in concert with Hebraic thought? In Hebraic thought, is the term nature equated at all with the term God? This question was posed recently by Brother Polight. In your video, we just didn't get to that part. In the video, Brother Polight tried to put my dear brother Elder Gabar on its stand. And Elder Gabar held his ground and held it down firm. And I even called in to start trouble because that's what I do when Polight's in the room. So I called in before Elder Gabar was finished scraping them up. I wanted some too. And I said, Polight, stop trying to separate the Hebraic term nature from the Hebraic term for God, because it's actually the same. And he said, what you mean? Well, I understand Hebrew on a multifaceted level. So let me give you something that is featured and highlighted in my book. Every Hebrew word has a numerical equivalent. Oh, you like that?
Yeah, because
Wait till I get to that. So every Hebrew letter has a numerical equivalent, similar to the Roman numerals. You know, V is 5,
right.
X is 10, you know, help me, I don't remember. C is 100, M is 500, right? And you help me on 18. But you get the point. And even in Greek, alpha, beta, gamma, delta, which by the way is Hebrew. Did I just say something weird?
No.
I have my southern accent weird? I'm New York born and raised, but you know, I love my people. So, the word
Alpha.
no, I don't want to say alpha in this instance. Okay, alpha, beta, gamma, delta, that in order comes from Hebrew, because Hebrew we have aleph, bet, gimel, dalet, or A, B, G, D. So if you were, you know, if you didn't know where language stemmed from, especially Western language, it might be up for debate where all language comes from. And when I say might, outside of our circle, we did the math on where language comes from. And we're waiting for other people to catch up. I know it's bold. Sometimes you make bold statements. Challenging. We did the math. And from our perspective, all the languages of the world can be traced back to Hebrew. I said, brother, you got to be kidding. Metal-Netta is the oldest language. Says who? You better come to that debate tomorrow, the Exodus Memorial. Metal-Netta is older than what? Okay, so everybody in the Kemetic community goes by what modern archaeologists say, right? Well, guess what the archaeological record says about language? Who has the oldest language on the face of the earth? Divine Prospect? Because I don't want to be seen as cheating. Who has the oldest language? According to archaeology, Sumerian. I didn't have to do that, but I did it because I don't want people to say I'm embellishing. So according to the archaeologist, and he's very objective, he's respected as such. That's why I particularly asked him. So according to archaeology, Sumeria has the oldest form of written language. And guess what? They have a Proto-Sumerian pictographic language. And you know where that comes from? Who knows where the Jordan Valley is? That's in the land of Israel. The Proto-Cuneiform writing, which precedes what modern archaeology says as far as Sumer or Mesopotamia or the cuneiform having the oldest, that which preceded them originates in the Jordan Valley. They call it what? Phoenician? Even before that, way before Phoenician, Proto-Semitic. It's what was found in the caves, the mining caves in the Sinai Peninsula. That is what precedes cuneiform. You have a question?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's my understanding that Sanskrit is the oldest language. Does that derive from Hebrew?
Well, I'll give you this. In the Sanskrit culture, who is venerated most?
The divine feminine.
And who is the divine feminine? Matter of fact, that's too easy. Who's the divine masculine? Brahma.
Yes.
Divine Prospect said that unto the sons of the concubines, Abraham gave gifts, and he sent them to the east. Abraham in Hebrew is Abraham. Braham. I have a book called From Hinduism Back to Judaism. But Zionists don't know nothing. You know, he can't answer stuff spontaneously because he don't read. So in a book entitled From Hinduism Back to Judaism, by Matik Yahoo Glaserson, which you can find on Amazon, it traces the entire Hindu culture and civilization, and in particular spiritual philosophy, back to Abraham. That might be a good read if you want to check it out. But even from the point of view of Sanskrit being one of the oldest, it sure is, because you're talking about the Indus Valley. And the Indus Valley is one of the oldest civilizations in the world. Whether or not it precedes Sumer is up for debate in non-academic circles. But in academic circles, the Indus Valley civilization is not taken seriously in terms of saying whether or not it was the first, because they were known to embellish. They were known to say, my king reigned 110,000 years, when we have no record for a single human being lasting 110,000 years. You understand? Same thing that Manetho did. And this is the thing that Polight loved to do when he debated us. What year did such and such reign? What year did such and such reign? You see, there's method to the Polight madness. He knows that there's a problem with the Egyptian chronology system. So he will get you to commit to one. Because he knows all you have to do is commit, and I got you, because the system is within and of itself already off. Right. So, with all of your academia, as soon as you commit to it, you're doomed. Well, we don't play that game because we see the trap. So, in the Hebrew language, every single letter has a numerical equivalent. And of what relevancy is that? Well, I'll tell you. Who knows the person that gave us the Ten Commandments, or the Torah? What's his name? Everybody knows. Huh? Masha. Moses. Moshe. Moses. Moses is known as not just the giver of the law, but he's also called the teacher of the law. Because I believe it's Malachi that says, Zakor et Zakor et Torah Moshe Abdi. Remember the law of Moses, my servant. That's one of the last sentences in the book of Malachi as the Old Testament closes and opens to the New. Remember the Torah of Moshe, my servant. Zakor et Torah Moshe Abdi, right? Okay. So that means Moses is our teacher also. You know how we say Moses our teacher in Hebrew? Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe is numerical equivalent to 345 because the letter Mem is numerical equivalent to 40. Hey is 5, Shin is 300, so 345. Rabbeinu was 268. 268 plus 345 is 613. Moses, our teacher, gave us what? 613 laws of the Torah. But in case you thought that Moses was alone, who did the Creator send with Moses? Way Aharon, his brother, and Aaron. So when you say Moshe, Way Aharon in Hebrew, Way Aharon is also 268. So Moshe, Way Aharon is 613. But that ain't enough. That ain't enough. Because that's a coincidence, right? I got something for you. Y'all Hebrew Israelites are spooked out. Y'all go to Deuteronomy 28, and y'all say that these ships that the Lord sent y'all on is a sign that every black person is an Israelite. This got to be the most spooked out book. But come to my UFO conference next month. You can't make this stuff up. Your brother's on video saying this. I really believe that video. We have the most spooked out book. Did y'all catch the Kemetic cosmology? Yes. Did y'all catch the Kemetic cosmology and how the universe was created and how it was spat from various procreational vessels? Yes. But Genesis 1 is crazy? Right. Oh, let me have fun real quick. And this is how I'm going to close out. I'm going to close out with Genesis chapter 1, and I'm going to close out with Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 45. For the rest, please come tomorrow because I'm going all the way in. So, Genesis chapter 1 is spookism. But the creation of the world from a Kemetic point of view, as far as it being spat forth from divine semen, and the gods having divine sex, is not. Let me just tell you something real quick about creation from a scientific point of view. Creation consisted from the scientific point of view, and don't knock me, I'm giving you science. I didn't attach the Torah to it. From a scientific point of view, started with the Big Bang. There's some elements about the Big Bang that is eerily close to what's spoken about in the Torah. And I'll show you. So according to the Big Bang Theory, life itself began with an infinitesimal ball of light. That which is infinitesimal is the smallest unit. The very smallest unit of light is known as protons. And they say that the universe sprang forth from it. And what jump-started the universe, ironically, is called the God particle. You follow me? The origin of the universe can be traced back to an infinitesimal ball of light. This ball of light, or these balls of light, in its smallest feasible perception, are what is known as protons. Protons have no mass, by the way. The God particle is that which gave it mass. Please follow me. It's going to get interesting. Because our book is crazy, right? So, when you look at creation from a scientific point of view, you almost don't want to marry it with the Torah unless you truly understand Torah. Because you go like, man, Big Bang. The Creator said, Bereshit bara Elohim et ha-shemayim ve et haaretz. Ve'et haaretz hayta tohu va'ohu. Ve'choshet al panai tehum ve'ruach Elohim merakefet al panai hamayim. Vayomer Elohim yehi or vayehi or. And God said, light be light. According to the Torah, creation began with light. Ain't it the same thing science said? Let's see what else matches up. Science says that which gave the photon its mass is called the God particle. That which gave the photons its mass is called the God particle. Don't take my word for it. Check it out, according to the Big Bang Theory. The word God in Hebrew is Elohim. We just read that Elohim said, Yehi or, Vayehi or, and then there was light. But he said, Elohim, God, said, Vayomer, Yehi or, Vayehi or. Light be light. The Hebrew word for thing, or that which is matter, something that is tangible, is the Hebrew word davar. When I want to say speak in Hebrew, it's daber. Dabar means to say something and also means a thing. Because contrary to the foolish kingdom we are indoctrinated under, America, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Are you serious? Right. Because I would never touch you, my sister. With no disrespect. If we get angry, I will slap the shit out of you. I like shock factor. Don't take it personally. I won't do it. If you hurt yourself tonight, you may bleed, but you will heal. And that healing may take a year. It may take 2. But guess what? And this is a revelation without saying names. I had a close family member say something to me 26 years ago. I'm 35, so check out the number. And it still pains to this day. And I have no physical scar. But I'm bleeding internally. Words are more powerful than anything tangible. Because the energy contained in the word is that which produces the tangible pain. So when the Creator said, Yehi or, Vayehi or, He spoke light into existence. The Hebrew word for speaking something into existence also means to create shape and form. So science caught up with that. They call it semantics. The science of how sound produces shape and form. But the Torah is crazy and spookish because Gab and Nat sat down and
some madness.
And y'all still buying this dude's CDs? I don't know how. Very interesting. But because I'm pressing for time and I wanted to have more fun, I'll end out with Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 49. This is very powerful. Who in here is a Hebrew Israelite? Raise your hand. You're going to love this. Who in here is not a Hebrew Israelite?
Well, what do you mean by that?
That's a great question.
You know.
That's 10 minutes right there.
I might not necessarily.
Those who subscribe to, and I like your word, the persuasion. I pay attention. I said, man, what does the brother mean by those who subscribe to the Hebrew persuasion? You know, since meeting him, I heard him say it a couple times and I couldn't quite get it. Then it started to make sense. And there goes that thing again, hearing an adverse opinion and still being ready to accept it and embrace it. God could have just wrote him off as being somebody who's fronting and, you know, trying to embellish themselves. Or I could have do what I did, research and pay you money. And it's powerful what you said. So without you taking too much of the time, I'll say this. Those who subscribe to the persuasion of being a Hebrew Israelite do so on the basis that Hebrew Israelites, according to Deuteronomy 28, verse 68, are a people who will be placed on ships, sent to a kingdom that they know their forefathers have ever been to a people whose language they would not understand, and shall be shackled and afflicted 400 plus years. If you ask me, there's no other people on the face of the earth that can hold that ID card. That's why we subscribe to that appellation.
I get it. Thank you.
So with that being said, we talked about numerical equivalencies in Hebrew. In Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 49, it says that a nation as swift as the eagle flies, whose language you will not understand, will come and take you. The phrase in Hebrew, a nation whose language you will not understand, is numerically equivalent to 1227. You want to know what that's equivalent to in Hebrew? Sekar, Ha'avadim, Hatrans, Amantit. The transatlantic slave trade.
Oh, wow.
Is that in the book? Tell me that's in the book too, man.
The phrase in Hebrew, a people, and I'm putting in quotations from this point, whose language you will not understand, is numerically equivalent to 1227. Wait till you see that presentation tomorrow that I throw up that shows it, because it's one thing to say it, but I'm actually showing it. It's numerically equivalent to 1227. That is ironically the numerical equivalent to Sekar, Ha'avadim, Hatrans, Atlantit, the transatlantic slave trade.
Wow.
You can call it coincidence if you want. But we got institutions for people who are on that level of frequency to call that kind of a thing a coincidence. And I say that as frank as possible and as nice as possible. Who knows the very first ship, and this is the very last point, the very first ship that black people were picked up on?
Good ship Jesus.
The good ship Jesus, right?
Yeah.
All right. By the way, most people know me as being Old Testament only, so I'll have to go on record saying this. When it comes to the personality of what I term Yeshua, is the most empowering personality throughout the Torah. You might have Old Testament Israelites that look at me and go like, you said that? Yeah, I said that, because I have the knowledge to back it up. And one thing we have to learn to do as Israelites of different viewpoints, Old Testament versus New Testament, is do this. There's one central theme throughout the entire book. You know what that is? God and Torah. When we align ourselves with that, there is no confusion. We can subscribe to whatever we will, but once we understand God and Torah, the disunity disappears. You know what created the unity that we have today among ourselves as New Testament and Old Testament? God and Torah. We said we have two things in common. We both say when we pray, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. We both say that the divine system of justice that we follow is the Torah. Everything else, we can come to the table at a future point and talk about.
Okay.
That's wisdom. And when I write a book on Yeshua, you may see some points of view that may make Old Testament Israelites drop their jaws. Because I know things about him that will change a lot of their perspectives. And I'm on record saying that. So, the good ship Jesus in Hebrew is Tovah, Sefina, Yeshua. The Creator said in Deuteronomy 28, starting from verse 15, that all of these curses will overcome you because you did not keep all of my 613 laws. Correct? Am I adding? Because we're in the room for the Israelites. Don't add to the Torah. Am I deleting? We were placed on ships because we didn't keep the 613 laws, correct? The good ship Jesus, Safina, Tova Yeshua, numerical equivalent to 613. Hallelujah. There's a lot more in this book.
I'd just like to say that I'm really impressed by the audiences of my brothers and sisters here, because I don't know a lot about what you were talking about, but I feel it in my heart, and I'm connected to you. Yes,
Hallelujah. That's where it starts.